Example 1 wants us to analyze the equation of a parabola here. So notice this is in what we would call a general form. We need to write it in standard form, which is also known as vertex form. So if we start off with the equation of y equals negative x squared minus 2x plus 3, we want this to look like this lovely equation here, since it's a y equals. So what we have to do is you're going to actually have to complete the square. Yay! So that means we're going to group together these two, and we're going to push that 3 out a little bit, and we're going to leave a space inside your parentheses. Now notice there's a -1 here in front of your x squared. You can't complete square if that is anything other than a +1. So what we need is we need to take out a -1 here before we complete square. So we take out -1, left over you have x squared plus 2x, and we need to leave a space here, plus, and we leave a space, and we're going to put parentheses. Your 3 is still outside of your parentheses, but we're going to have to put a number outside here. So what we're going to do is, in order to complete square, this is a c value. So if this is your c value, in order to have a number out here, you have to do the opposite of when you multiply -1 times c. So if you multiply these, and then you put the opposite out here, we have to balance our equation. So we want the opposite of -c. So we'll find out what we get. So in order to find out what c is, let's say c is b divided by 2, and you square that. So your b is a 2. So we're going to divide that by 2, and we're going to square that. So 2 divided by 2 is a 1. 1 squared gives us a 1. So our c value is a 1. So let's rewrite our equation. So y equals -1. You get an x squared plus 2x. Instead of a plus c, you're going to have a plus 1 here. And just because we have a plus 1 here does not mean we automatically put a -1 out on the outside. What we have to do is you have to multiply -1 times 1. So if you multiply those and then you do the opposite on the outside, then what we have to do on the outside is put the opposite of -1. So the opposite of -1 is just a plus 1 out here. So it's not always that these are the same number, but the only way that they would be the same number is if you have a 1 and if you have a negative out here. So let's clean this up a little bit. That means we're going to have y equals -1. If you factor this, this becomes a perfect square, x plus 1 squared plus 4. So here is your standard form. That's the first thing you have to do. So this would be 1 point on a problem. And then next, we have to go ahead and list your vertex, your axis of symmetry, and your direction of your opening. So if we look at your chart, well, your vertex is just h comma k. So if that's an h comma k, that means your vertex is going to end up being a -1 comma 4. For the h, you always put the opposite of whatever you're given. So you have a -1 comma 4. Your axis of symmetry, that is just x is equal to h, so your h ends up being -1. So you say x equals -1. And then your direction of your opening, while you're looking at your a, so since a is less than 0, that means your graph is going to be opening down. So there's a pretty little 4-point problem for you. Whenever you have to go through and find all your properties of your parabola, my suggestion would be to write out your a, b, and c, or sorry, your a, b, and c, your h, k, and your a. So then you can just plug them straight into your formulas. We know that a is out here, which is -1. And according to your formula sheet, usually this is a negative. Well, the opposite of negative would be a positive. Sorry, opposite of positive would be a negative. So that means this is -1, and then this stays the same on the outside. So k is 4. That is how you want to analyze your graph of a parabola.